Banshees of Inisherin. A little bit more of a mixed bag, I'd say, but definitely not a movie that I think many people walk away from with a big smile on their face. This is a big movie this year. Martin McDonagh's most recent movie, obviously the director of In Bruges and more notably Three Billboards a
Hmm.
few years back. Um, this is a movie that's getting a lot of acclaim. Is sitting at 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, being talked about for awards. Obviously, you have Colin Farrell starring in this alongside Brendan Gleeson
Hmm.
and Carrie Condon. I think would be and Barry Keoghan, of course, our guy
Yeah.
Barry. Um, this is a really impressive movie that I left and the drive home from the theater the whole time was like, that did not make me feel good at all. Not really one bit. And that's not what I expected. So I think my first reaction was, fuck that movie, man. Poor Jenny. I fucking need justice for Jenny.
Pour one out
But
for my guy Jenny.
yeah. But I think as I've sat with it more today, I'm just really like impressed with it overall. And I'm looking
Hmm.
forward to like digging more into it. But I just want to hear your initial like reactions after seeing it.
Yeah, I think going in knowing that it had a lot of acclaim, I was definitely hopeful. And first Martin McDonough movie since Three Billboards, you know, bit riding on that because Three Billboards, despite its pluses, ultimately got a lot of criticism for kind of being like the foreigner's take on what's wrong with America. You
Yeah.
know, Frances McDormand's still great in it, but like it was a movie that like the premise of it, I think, started rubbing people the wrong way once we got deeper into award season. And Banshees of Inisherin, I think, is a lot closer to In Bruges, which also happens to star Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, and seems to be much more in sync with that Martin McDonough career path to this point, of course, of prolific uh, playwright as well. The Banshees of Inisherin as a title is not that far off from the what is it, the Cripple of Inishmin and the Lieutenant of Inishmore, which are two of his plays. So it definitely seems like this could have been a play at one time and probably would translate pretty easily to the stage as well. I did like it. I think you're right that it's a black comedy with some really strong like there's some really good humor in this, but it's also a movie that has like a lot of darkness, and you kind of like dwell and sit in that darkness in unexpected ways, and that's why I'm pretty happy with it, where it's just really, I think, unconventional like story on its face, and it just doesn't do what I think it's gonna do. And when you have all this talent here too, like I think all the key performances are really strong, and it just it kind of just like kind of sets you up to sit with like its meaning and doesn't really hold your hand with anything, and I definitely really respect it. And uh, I saw it in a decently full theater. I'd say there's probably like 40 people in there. And I don't know, the theater experience I think really elevated the humor for me. Like there were some like moments where like people were dying. Like there was this hilarious lines. Usually Colin Farrell as Podrick was really doling out some stuff with his earnestness and just saying things so matter of factly that you can't help but laugh. But yeah, overall I liked it for its unexpected qualities.
Yeah, I thought the humor, at least I was dying laughing at a lot of it. I opened the show talking about no, just a regular good chat. Not an aimless chat, just regular good chat. Like that had really had me
Just
dying.
go to the pub and have a
Yeah.
chats. We always did.
um, but I thought the first half of this, the humor's great. And it really like keeps the movie going. Because I think if the tone of the second half of the movie were the tone throughout, this would have been a really tough watch.
Hmm.
Because the basically when Siobhan like decides like
Yeah,
she's gonna leave, and
Podrick's
then
sister.
Colin cuts the rest of his fingers off. The movie just takes a really dark turn at that point, and
Hmm.
it's this place that seemed so like picturesque, the whole time. I mean the panoramic shots and just like the way that McDonough shows this island off the coast of Ireland is like amazing and beautiful. And I think one of the comments that I really agree with, I've seen a lot of feedback about this movie, it's just like his filmmaking abilities just seem to like really like be growing, and his
Mm,
ability to
yeah.
like use the scenery and kind of setting is just really impressive. But this place that seems so picturesque just shifts into being like this prison. That conversation that Colin and Siobhan have about like, why are you doing this? Like, why'd you have to be so drastic cutting your fingers off? Are you depressed? And he
Mm,
kind of talks about how some days it feels like he's just like doing anything to like stop himself from actually like killing himself is kind of like the underlying. And he's like,
right.
don't you feel like that too? And Siobhan's like, no. And he's like, you do. And like just kind of like, it's kind of like said that like these people on this island, unless you are like Podrick, um, you probably are realizing that you're kind of like stuck and
Yeah.
this is your life. And it's really like just shifts the movie completely. And I thought it was really effective. And
Hmm.
obviously then seeing the way that their relationship and Podrick's journey kind of tailspins from there is just gutting.
Right. Yeah, I mean, to have like your lead protagonist played by Colin Farrell, to have Podrick be someone who's just like earnest and nice, but also just dim and simple as a
Hmm.
human, like it's like a really smart choice. Then you contrast that with Colm. Brendan Gleeson obviously has a lot of presence, but he's a character that is much more reserved, but is just completely lost in his like purpose in life. Whereas Podrick just has never been concerned with that. And I really like how that's all contrasted with the backdrop of the Irish Civil War, were taking place in 1923, rural village on this island off the coast. Inisherin is a fictional island, but Inisheer is a real island in off
Hmm.
Ireland. Don't know why the name was changed, but um, the fact that like the war is happening from the very first like few scenes where like there's explosions just right across the water, right on the coast, like the the shit's going down. But these people on the island, they don't give a fuck. Doesn't concern them at all. They're on the island, and like it's presented as like, oh, well, what a perk to be
Yeah.
above it all on this picturesque place. But then, like you said, it's actually presented as no, this is something that really reins in almost everyone that's here.
Hmm.
And I think to get to that point when our inciting incident in the movie is just that Colm just don't like you no more. Like that's how it starts.
Hmm.
But it's about so much more than that. And we get there in a unexpected way through some graphic ultra violence that really sneaks up on you. It's
Hmm.
I can't help but be pretty impressed.
there. I think the like metaphor of these two people, right, is something that a lot of people, I'd say more so adults, can relate to. Do you like cut out these parts of your life that don't feel like you're really like getting a lot out of it, or feel like you're benefiting from spending time with? Or do you kind of like say, fuck it, like life is short and just kind of like enjoy the time you got no matter what that looks like? And I think, obviously for most people it's a balance. It's about the gray area, but these two characters identifying these extremes make the movie completely relatable right off the bat. And then, you get the dynamic of the village people around them as their dynamic has shifted
Mhm.
and like what it means for all of them. I love in the beginning when he's like, you having a row? I didn't think we were having a row. I think we're having a row.
I think we're having a row. Yeah, the
So
bartender's great. Uh,
amazing.
the policeman, you love to hate him. Of course, the father of
Yeah.
Barry Keown's character, Barry playing kind of the village like miscreant, just kind of doesn't have a whole lot of support at home. Obviously, his dad doesn't like him, but he also just doesn't really get up to much. Hasn't made much of his life kind of character.
Mhm.
Um, the other people in the bar, the fiddle players, the woman in town who's a gossip queen, like
Mhm.
they're small roles, small parts, but they're all really colored in nicely. And of course, you have the older woman playing the almost like literal like witch, like demon banshee figure who
Yeah.
has just some hilarious like drop-ins. Like I was loving everything with her.
Me too. I mean, I've seen some people be lukewarm on her. I thought she was great. I love
So
when
funny.
he's like, "That's not a very nice thing to say," and she's like, "I wasn't trying to be nice. I was trying to be accurate." I was like, "Yes, I love this. Amazing line." Also, you didn't even mention my favorite like supporting character, which is the priest. I feel like
Oh,
everything with the priest was just like
so good.
fucking hysterical.
Cursing and confession. Can't beat it, man.
He kicks Colin out of confession, doesn't let him actually like get absolved of his sins. Amazing move. Love that. Um yeah, that was great. Um yeah, I mean all the supporting characters are fantastic, and I really love how you have like all these guys, and then really like the only woman that really gets like any kind of media role at all is
Mm,
Carrie Condon Siobhan,
yep.
Podrick's sister. And I think her journey throughout the movie is so like essential, as like it kind of what we talked about, how most people are kind of this like middle of the road between these two characters, right? Because Siobhan is someone who, when Podrick's like, why don't you come down and have a sherry, like she lights up. She's like so excited, like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go have like a good time with you, have a drink. And then there's also obviously her desire to have a career and to
Hmm.
like have more to her life than just this island. And she ends up pursuing that, even though her leaving is completely gutting. Like, I
Right.
think that role and the way that again that conversation between her and Colin, where she's like, all of this is silly. Like everything that you're doing is like ridiculous and just boys like killing time. You're not actually doing anything anyway. And like how she calls him out for like not knowing when Mozart is, like she gets so many like awesome little like lines and gets so many like great moments. I really, really came away with like loving Carrie Condon's performance in this.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, she's great, and the Siobhan role is written. It's much stronger than just the maternalistic figure to our lead character.
Hmm.
She has real substance in her own arc, which is great. And Barry Keoghan as the other big
Yeah,
supporting character. I mean, he's just a beast at playing like fucking weirdos now. Like I love him, dude. He's so great,
so good.
and obviously this is an all-star Irish cast from an Irish filmmaker. Of course he's here. It makes
Hmm.
all the sense in the world, and I'm really happy that he's going to get a lot of shine with this because you know it has probably hasn't happened yet, but we're going to see like some really big stuff from him. I have no doubt. Um, and I really loved everything about him. Some of the humor, like early on when he's just like haplessly hitting on Siobhan, he has no idea what to say
Hmm.
or what to do, or can't pick up on any social cue at all from her. She's trying to let him down easy. That stuff is great. But even just like the more humorous stuff too, where he's just like bouncing off Podrick, and he like genuinely feels betrayed when he realizes that Podrick was starting to escalate and like get
Hmm.
more mean about stuff. That's why he got mad, because Podrick was being mean about it. Um, you mentioned Jenny at the beginning, but like the animals between Podrick's pony and Colm's dog,
Yeah.
they both actually have like big parts in their own way, which you wouldn't expect from animal characters, quote unquote, in a film. Like starts off, Jenny is just some really great humor when
Hmm.
Podrick likes to let the pony inside, and Siobhan's like, "What the fuck are we doing? Why is the animal in the house?"
Yeah.
And Podrick's referencing about the what he can find in the pony shit and how interesting it can be. But then where we end up with the pony and with the dog to a lesser extent too.
Donkey,
It's
by the way.
donkey. Sorry. Yeah. Right. Oh yeah. He mentions he has a pony early on, but Jenny
Yeah.
is a donkey. You're right.
Little donkey.
Yep. Like where we get to with the animals also quite surprised me.
Yeah, and I think what like the animals represent for this island, where there's like you don't see any children, right? So I think that's a very intentional decision in this. I mean, Dominic is probably the youngest person you see throughout the movie. Maybe some of the other people in the bar from time to time. I can't remember
Right.
if like when they go to the docks, maybe there's some running around. But anyways, these animals are supposed to represent like this like their children basically. And even when Podrick is like, all right, like 2 o'clock tomorrow, I'm gonna come burn your fucking house down. He takes the dog, he takes care of the dog, and that being like this like point on where their relationship is left off at the end. That conversation on the beach is so like pointed, but there's obviously like something fractured about that relationship that could never be the same. But that like anytime when he's like, thanks for watching my dog, it's just such a like a bit of an uplift. It's like you kind of needed that, because if the movie just ends with him being like, some things are like irreparably changed and
Mhm.
like it's probably better that way. It's like,
Or
oh
he
my
like
fucking,
slits his throat or something,
oh
you
my
know.
god, it's like holy shit, like this all could have been like just so heavy. But I thought it's a nice like kind of light at the end of the tunnel in a way.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I really like I said, I've just kind of been impressed with this. It's a movie that I think I had to be in a very specific mood to go back to just because it is pretty heavy and like uh definitely didn't leave me feeling very good afterwards. But I mean, there's some performances in here that I think are probably going to get nominated. At least I think Farrell seems like a lock to get a nomination, right?
I agree. Yeah, he's definitely the most bankable for best actor. Best actor is still pretty tight, but I wouldn't bank on the win, at least not yet. But I mean, very happy to see this from Colin Farrell because we've talked about it honestly quite a bit, but he's really come into his own, partially as a character actor, but also just as someone who's making great choices and just seems like at peak of powers these days, where he is constantly one of, if not the best performance on screen in like everything he's in the past like 5-10 years. It feels like, even in like direct like Fantastic Beasts, he's like elevating it as best he can. He's been really crushing it. But then like this year too, after Yang and Banshees of Inisherin, talking about a big year for him.
And you
Really
didn't
happy
even
to see that.
mention his best role, the Batman dog.
Of
He's
course,
the Penguin.
I loved him as the Penguin. He was
He's
great.
great and unrecognizable. Do you think Gleason gets a nomination for this?
I have to like brush up on the supporting race, but he's definitely in the mix for sure. Again, McDonough got a lot of nominations last time around. Was quite celebrated in 2017, so I'd have to imagine to a certain degree that'll continue. This also is a Searchlight release, so this will have a lot of push behind it when the time comes. So, and of course, I think Brendan Gleeson, he's not nearly as famous as Colin Farrell, not even close, but he's always someone that when he's in American films, he really, I think, makes an impression. Of course, most populously would be Harry Potter, but he's been in obviously loads of things for decades at this point, and I think that would also be quite the nod to him after a storied career to this point to get a nomination too.
I think when award season comes around, I'll be riding to get that Carrie Condon supporting actress nom.
Mhm.
But I think if there's one other nomination that I think feels pretty safe from this movie, I mean McDonough would probably be a good call, but also cinematography. I think this will
Yeah.
be up there. It's just so gorgeous. That opening shot where they're like going over the field and you see like all the like walls and delineations of the property. I thought was just amazing. So.
Yeah. I think more than anything, McDonough is probably safest for his writing. I think screenplay is probably the best individual quality of this movie is that unconventional screenplay. So I'd probably bank on that first. Best director, maybe not as likely, but would certainly be well earned for original screenplay.
Absolutely. Dave, any last thoughts on Banshees of Inisherin?
Definitely see it. I think
Yeah,
I mean, it's unique and has
yeah.
a lot of things to like about it. So
I think
definitely
this
worth
is
people's time.
I think this can be one of those movies that people don't see in theaters when that Christmas like lull comes around. A lot of people are gonna be watching it at home with their families, and they get
Yeah,
quite the surprise when they're like, post Christmas, oh let's watch a movie together, and then
dripping.
yeah.